Hello. Again, it's your Professor Travis Wolven, and now I'm going to be talking about Chapter 7, Researching Your Speech. Um, I really appreciate this topic and enjoy it because I love research. Um, I am a kind of nerdy person who will, just sit on my phone sometimes and just read different research articles, even from journals that I may have access to. And then I also enjoy reading knowledge broker articles and things like that on different kinds of scientific discoveries out in space, scientific discoveries dealing with biology or anthropology or paleontology, all of the different ologies. So, so I'm really glad to be here and to talk about this a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and move us over to our PowerPoint so we can kind of get into it. Alrighty, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and get the slideshow going. Alrighty, so Chapter 7, Researching Your Speech. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. Okay, so our subsections that we're going to look at are research, basic concepts of it, research strategy, so how we're going to go about that research, and then finally citing sources. And once we get to citing sources, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about my own original research that I did for my master's degree. All right, so the book gives this nice little definition of research as being the scholarly investigation into a topic in order to discover, revise, or report facts, theories, and applications. I do really appreciate this definition. As well, they give the definition for fact being a truth derived and arrived at through the scientific process. Isn't that nice? So now I do think that there are lots of different kinds of discussions that we can have about what research means, especially in terms of observation, experience, perception, things of this nature. But for the time being, we're going to keep these simple definitions and just at least observe them. Same thing for facts. There's a lot of different ways to discuss what facts are, how they function, how we can use them, and how we can know them and trust them. So, the first part of research, I really want to talk about primary research and secondary research. And I want to talk about it in two different realms, okay? So, in the one realm, you have primary research, which is research a scientist might do to just take a look at something, to just um, come to know about whatever the new topic might be, to just take a step into the darkness, per se. So maybe there is a new material that's been discovered, whether that is a man-made material, some sort of metal or isotope, or maybe it's something from a meteorite that scientists have found. And so maybe doing some sort of basic research on those materials, whether it's putting them in new temperature zones or having them react to different types of chemicals and elements, whatever that might be. As well, you could have primary research with humans or animals or any realm, right? But it's just that first kind of step into the darkness on a realm that there isn't much research on. Secondary research is, as I put there, taking time. So we're kind of taking time to review, revise, and to try to come to some sort of standard of understanding about facts that may have been derived from primary research or other secondary research. So in secondary research, this happens at a lot of the university levels, whereby we can not only train people through doing research on topics, but also, essentially we're having moments where people just try to test different theories and see if they work. If they work in their context with these same types of methods that are given in previous research, etc. I could go on and on and on and on about all of these, but so we don't get bogged down in all of this, the other thing I want to mention about primary research and secondary research is I also want us to conceptualize that for ourselves in terms of taking a look and taking time for our own topics. So sometimes it's good for us to do what I might call primary research, where maybe we go and look at some New York Times articles or BBC or Al Jazeera or National Geographic or just see what's on Google and then start to take a dive and see if we can find more scholarly sources on a topic to just get some basic knowledge about it, right? So if we're having a new topic that we're talking about, it's always good to just have that first dabbling into what literature there is about whatever topic you're researching. And then I would say that secondary research when you're doing a speech or presentation, and again, I'm kind of going rogue outside of the textbook right now, but I would say that your secondary research when you're researching a topic is kind of that research where you already know a little bit about it, you've already read a little bit about it, and you might be reading about things that are talking about the same thing you've already read about once or twice, but it's kind of coming to give a more whole or detailed picture of that. As well, your textbook talks a little bit about what we have over here, discovering, revising, and reporting in that research process for yourself. So that first moment of primary research where you're just kind of dipping your toes in, trying to figure it out, reaching into the darkness, right? After you've reached into the darkness, maybe you've revised it to fit your context of what you're trying to talk about, going back to chapter 6 concepts, and then reporting. Finally, you've said, okay, you know what? I've read a bit of research about English literature in general. Then I kind of revised down to look at um, early 20th century literature in the United States. And then I did some more revising to read more authors who are talking about that. And then here's kind of my reporting, my outlining of that. Okay. Your research strategy. Research really does take time. So make sure that for each one of your topics that you may need to research, you actually bill in and say, okay, this research topic is going to be about this specific medical condition. So I may need to put in time to learn about what the medical condition is, maybe a little bit about the history of it. I may need to learn about the effects of the medical condition. I may need to learn about preparation methods, and I may need to learn a little bit about the part of the body that it's going to affect, right? So I think that's really important. And so to kind of build in time into your schedule for each one of those things, figure out what your needs are, and then kind of, yeah, it's really important to get to know the different sites and databases that you might be looking at. And finally, skimming and abstracts. There are so many, 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 many articles to look at, and it's a great and wonderful thing, but it can be quite overwhelming, right? There's so much research out there. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment here. So I have the citing sources slide up, right? So generally, we're going to be doing sources in APA, but of course, there's MLA, Chicago, Turabians, and et cetera, so many more. But we're going to be focusing on APA. So I'm going to kind of go back, and we're going to talk a little bit about abstracts. And so let me go ahead and share the next page. Let's see here. Okay, so we will go back there. I appreciate you guys sticking with me on this. Okay. So basically, I want people to keep in mind that the Sherrod Library is an amazing place to look at sources, right? So if we do that, so you can look it up on Google, and then there's all these amazing databases that are on there. So so yeah. And we can talk more about that individually. I'd be more than happy to provide videos on that and things like this. But we're just going to keep it simple to the fact that we know that that exists. We can go browse all databases, right? Generally, the one that I tend to use the most is EBSCOhost, right? So generally, it's this one right here, EBSCOhost and EBSCO databases. They tend to have the largest amounts. Now, in one of the previous slides, I mentioned skimming and abstracts. So I'm going to bring it over to actually my thesis and dissertation, well, my thesis that I wrote for my master's. And so here's the title. It's about the two selves, experiences and code switching between home and academic environments, right? I'm very proud of this research. I had a great time doing it. I had a great experience. with the different people in the ETSU departments. And even on my research, and you'll see this across fields for many kinds of research, you have this little abstract here. And the abstract gives you a summary of what happens. So what happens in the journal article. So oftentimes, whenever we're looking at movies or shows, it'll give kind of like a teaser summary. So we'll still try to investigate more. The abstract literally will tell you beginning, middle, and end what it's about were, right? And so that way you can look at the abstract, you can see if it fits with what you're talking about. So I definitely want people to keep that in mind, that always look at the abstracts when you're looking at scholarly sources. And then finally, citations. We're definitely going to be doing APA. Again, this is my paper. As you can see, is about 96 pages. A lot of the pages, about 20 of them, are references, and they're in APA style. So, and you can see that here. It's very easy to look up APA style. And as well, I'm more than happy upon request, or maybe if I investigate the class and see what people are interested in, I'd be more than happy to actually share more resources on how to cite those sources in that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the share here. Okay, so in terms of researching for your speech, just realize that there are many different components to researching. To give yourself time to research each of those components. And then finally, there's ways to make it easier on yourself, with researching how to cite sources, and then as well, finding different ways to read abstracts and skim articles, so you're not spending gobs and gobs and gobs of time reading every single detail of all of the wonderful and intensive information that's out there. Thank you so much for being here for this talk about Chapter 7 and research. And I look forward to hearing from you guys on the other side. Take care.